to look at how you go from an idea to growing a character to maybe writing something down, do a little exercise. I don't know if people have paper. You don't need paper. You can do it in your head. It's one that you would do in a class. Maybe you've done in a class. I don't know. But it'll give you a takeaway if you wanted to go home and write something too. The key in writing is always to be specific. And then the golden rule is the universals in this specific. People often think the otherwise. If I make this really general and use lots of abstract words, it'll mean lots to everybody. It doesn't. It's just abstract to everybody. So I'm going to ask you 10 questions to help you build a character. First question, is it a male, female, or other? There's stories from others, you know, all sorts of others, but if it's an inanimate other, Amy Tan writing about card table, that's tough to sustain. I just say if you're trying to write a novel, like from the point of a rug, Barbara Kingsolver's done that or something, it's probably a short story. Like they don't talk or move or anything. Okay, so male, female, or other, you got that. But their age. And I don't mean middle-aged or teenage, specific, 49, 17. Maybe you write fantasy, maybe they're, I don't know, 200. And that was an easy one too. Name, specific name. Maybe their full name is Bob, but probably not. So that's the basics. You should definitely know that stuff before you start writing. You may not know the reasons for their name. You might come across that later during your writing process. So specifics, what's their shoe size? If they don't have a shoe size, how come? Or if they don't wear shoes, how come? And then the fifth one, the middle one, is what is their favorite food? So that's drawing in the sense of taste. The idea here, before I go on to the next 5, is when you do character, you need to know a whole iceberg of material about them. And lots of it you learn during your writing process, but you need to know everything. You don't put everything in, but that bubbles to the surface. It's Ernest Hemingway, iceberg theory. You show 1/8, but the 7/8 that you know shows in the authority with which you write. So the next 5, what is their favorite music? Or if for some reason they don't have favorite music, maybe they're a horse. Maybe horses like music. I don't know. What's their favorite sound? Number 7 is where do they sleep? Doesn't matter if you're not writing about them sleeping. You need to know where they sleep. Number 8, what do they smell like? So not how do they go and smell something, but if you walked up to them and hugged them, what do you smell? Try and reach farther than garlic. Garlic's a little too common. Number 9 is what does their skin feel like? That could be 2 things. You reach out, you touch them. What does their skin feel like? Loose or dry or scaly. But it could also be, if you want to go a little deeper, what's it like to be in their skin? And that can be quite significant. It's editing a book for a person who's been burned, and that is hugely significant through the whole thing because their skin is too tight. And having that constantly through the scenes is really effective. And 10, how do they walk or move? So if this was kids at a writing camp or something, then we'd get up and improv and walk around like the character. But it is one of those gestures that if you're writing, you need to secretly do that in the shower and have a sense of how your character moves through space, if they move through space. How do they drink a cup of coffee? That tells you lots. Their hands, their quickness, their face, their lips. You can go one step deeper for characters. This is Janet Burroway writes terrifically on all fiction, nonfiction, and drama. If you want a universal book, get her imaginative writing book. It covers all of those. Poetry as well, with great examples. Her thing about character is if you know what they want, you know your character well. what is the one thing, you can call this number 11, I guess. What is the one thing your character wants more than anything else? And that can be a big thing. That could be love. But nice if you can make it love from who? Maybe it's money. Maybe it's the girl next door. Maybe the kind of novel you're writing, what they want most is freedom. Or revenge. Writing's great for revenge. You can put all those people you want revenge on in your book. So if you know what your character desires most, and you're thinking, maybe I'll go home on this snowy day and write a story, you could, one way to go about it is to say, how does a character get what they want? What's their route do they take? What things do they encounter? 3 things. Make it like a flower bouquet. 3 or 5 things. You don't have to write this part down. It's more like just things to think about. What obstacles are in their way? Do they succeed or fail? How do they deal with that? You've got someone who wants money. Maybe they go rob a bank. Then what happens? Then you have a story. What makes a story unique is the character that you developed more than the actions they go through. Probably we've seen the actions from another character sometime before in another book. And if you are working on characters, it's good to ask yourself questions about them. What would they do in this situation? What would they do in this situation? What would they do if they were in this car driving in the snowy highway? Would they be the yappy, nervous person or the calm person, or, in the back seat or crying, or, those kinds of things. So always go back and check the characters, and then there's exercises like that for setting, point of view, lots of ones for descriptive writing.